Hello and welcome back to the Wise Money School. Do you want to be financially free, financially independent? Do you want to have that financial peace of mind? Of course you do, because who doesn't? In order to create that freedom, to create that financial stability, financial security, whatever name that you want to give it, it's really important to understand that there are 3 core money skills that you have to develop. You have to learn, develop, and you have to turn these into skills. And their skills, these 3 skills to ultimately become like one skill, becomes your money job. And your money job over time is to create wealth, is to create that financial freedom. The problem is that most people only focus on one of the 3, not knowing that there are 3. And that would be akin to, let's say that you want to build a house. And if you're going to build a house, my nice tool bag here, you're going to need some tools. You're going to have some skills. And the first one might be a hammer. This is a really important tool. It's a really important skill. You're going to be nailing in a lot of boards and hitting a lot of nails. But if you just had the skill of the hammer, you're not going to be able to build the house. Building a house requires more than one. Money requires more than one. So yeah, you're going to need a hammer, but you're definitely going to need a tape measure and do a lot of measuring. And just to have this ready at hand, be able to use it, be able to read the tape and know basic measurements if you're going to build a house. And so there's a little skill actually to understanding the tape measure and how to use it effective for completing the house. And probably going to have a screwdriver. This day and age, these are all probably going to be electric ones, but nonetheless, we're going to be screwing in a lot of things while we're building this house. Lots of screws to screw in. So you're going to need all 3 of these tools and be able to develop them into skills. And the better the skills, the quicker or better that you can build the house. So now a house is going to require a lot more skills and tools than just the 3. So that's the great thing about money, is that there are only 3. But most people only acquire one. They only get good at one of the core money skills. In fact, the National Payroll Institute, I guess there really is such a thing, reports that around 72 to 70% of all Americans are paycheck to paycheck, meaning they're month to month. What that means is they deposit their money in at the beginning of the month, pay all their bills, and at the end of the month they're zero, and then it's over and over and over, month after month after month, and they never feel like they're getting ahead. Why is that? It's because we haven't developed these other money skills. We don't know how to work with our money skillfully to get out of that month-to-month trap. So if you are only focused on one of these skills, usually the first one, then you're likely feeling the same, feeling financially strapped, feeling like you're finding the financial hamster wheel, month to month, commission to commission, just never feeling like you get ahead. And when you feel like you're not getting ahead, it's super stressful. And eventually you just reach burnout. So let's break these down. Let's talk about what these 3 money skills are so that we can start to get these tools as part of our financial tool belt and start really mastering these 3 parts as skills. And we're going to look at them as jobs. Before I go into what these 3 are, what's interesting is that only 12-ish%, 12 to maybe 15% of all Americans are out of that month-to-month cycle, with everybody else being in this place of like some type of financial struggle. And what I find fascinating about that is that money can be so confusing and so difficult to get in control, yet it's probably the one thing that touches every part of our life, like every day. Meaning you go to work for your money 8 hours a day, at least. Money is part of your marriage. Money's part of your family. Money's part of your kids. They ask for money, don't they? And those kids aren't inexpensive. Money is something that you try to save. Money is something something you spend. Money is something you're supposed to invest. Money is something you're arguing about with your spouse on a regular basis. Money is something that keeps you up at night. I mean, it's just it's constant. Money is constantly present one way or another. And even if it's not top of mind, we're working for it. And when we're not working for it, we're usually stressed out over it. So money is just, it's fascinating to me because it's ever present in everything that we do in every part of our life, yet it's one of the things that's least understood. And it's because money is not taught. It's not part of our education system. And so we just kind of go along with our common sense about money or what our family's done with money or what the cultural standard is with money without understanding there's more to it. And what happens is that we just become part of this system. And what this system is, this financial system that we're in, when we don't have these skills to be able to break out of the system, is that the system teaches to work harder. The system teaches us that it's okay to get into debt, to purchase a lifestyle. The system wants us to pay more taxes. The system wants us to be dependent on other people through retirement programs and government sponsorships or 401ks or whatever the case is. And so we give away all of our financial power, and that's part of this system. So to break out of that system and to break out of this month to month, it's actually not that complicated. And it boils down to understanding these 3 money skills and start working with them and incorporate them into kind of that everyday part of our life. So let's break them down. What are they? The first one is make money. So make money. And we know how to make money. We go to work to make money, and making money is what we do. And even if you love your job, make no mistake about it, even though you may love your job, you're still going to work to make money because you have to. And we have to make money to be able to pay the bills, to survive. Just the basic survival requires making money or having money to be able to cover the cost of our life. So that's making money. Now, making money can be low skill or high skill. And so that's why I call it a skill. It's both like a job. It's a job that you need to do. I mean, you go to a job, but making money and thinking of making money as a job, and then whatever your specific job you have to be able to do the job of making money, it's how much money you make is relative to your skills and and the value of those skills that are the marketplace value out to the world. So making money is something to be very conscious of. Now, many people aren't conscious. What I mean by that is you go to your job, you collect a paycheck, and that's about as much thought there is to it. But when we're looking at skill is deliberate. Skill is something that we have, that we want to hone, we want to grow, we want to get better at. And the more skillful we are, more skill usually equals more value, however that value is represented. So in making money, the skill of making money, the job of making money, thinking of a job or in the role in this 3-part framework, is that the thought of how do I make more money? Meaning that's what you want to be thoughtful, like, yes, over my career, I want to make more money. And this is how it looks, is that we have this 40-year time frame. And I call this the working timeline. And we usually go to start working when we're like 25, and then we finish-ish around 65. And that means for 40 years, we're working, and we're working to earn money. And that's what we do. Like we have enough knowledge and capacity and value to enter the workplace around 25. And by the time 65, we're usually getting a little tired, and that value maybe is starting to deplete in general, right? So this is our working timeline. And this is our, what I call the financial freedom timeline. This is the same timeline that we have to be able to create that financial freedom. So by the time we're 65 at the very latest, we've hit that financially free mark, meaning that we don't have to work at all, and all of those bills are covered. And that's what we're doing over this 40-year timeline. So when we're making money as a skill, we're thinking like, okay, over these 40 years, I want my income to go up and continue to go up year over year, certainly decade over decade, but thoughtfully, consciously. Because if you're not thinking of making money as a skill, typically what happens is that your income is going to plateau. It's not going to continue to go up over time. It might go up to a certain point, and then that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily. But when we start thinking of making money as a skill, then we always want that money to go up. And it goes up over this 40 years two ways. The first way it goes up is you just keep getting pay increases. So you go up the ladder, and every time you go up the ladder, you make more money. You can make more money as a business owner. I'm a business owner. So as a business owner, I'm always looking to ways like, how do I make more money in my business? For example, year over year, I don't want to stay stuck. And each year it's like a new challenge to be able to earn more money through the business consciously and trying to figure out how to do that. And that's what entrepreneurs are always doing, is thinking like, how do we make more money? It seems more natural for entrepreneurs to do that than maybe W-2, but it's the same for W-2 earners. So that's where you make money over these 40 years. But how you also start making money over these 40 years is you start investing. And when you do these investing dollars, they grow over time. So this is where your income can continue to grow over the 40 years, is you increasing your own worth through working income, but you add on your investment income on top of that. And those two together are where these really start to balloon up. But it's a way to think consciously, how do I make more money over the 40 years of my life as a skill, as a deliberate intention, with a strategy, with conversation. If you're married, it's a really important conversation to have as a couple. How do we make more money? What do we want to do? What do we want our in number to be, for example? But that's all in the skill of making money. That's not enough. Now, like I said, when it's just the one hammer building the house, the hammer, which is probably the tool most often used, it's like making the money. So this is where people are focused. It's just make more, make more, make more. If I don't have enough money, I just need to work harder and go make more. And that's the cultural narrative that we're in. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, so you need to hustle more, and you need to do more, and you need to just try to solve all your money problems through making more money. But you're not going to solve your money problems with making more money. If you don't understand or have these three skills, the more money you make, you're actually probably going to cause more problems in your life. Believe me, more money, more problems if you don't understand these three skills. All right, so skill number one is making more money. What's skill number two? Skill number two is manage. So it's make and manage, these two different skills, and they're different. Making money is everything you're doing to go make more money, and asking that question, how do I continue to make more money? Managing money, this is all about asking the question, how do I manage the money I make? And it's a really important question. And so management, make and manage, make and manage, make and manage. Now, when I say manage money, what I'm really saying, it's not managing your money so much as it's managing your spending. Managing your spending. And your spending has to be managed, because if you don't manage your spending will manage you. It will get out of control, and you will spend every dollar you make. There's something called Parkinsons Law. You've heard me say that many times. You'll hear me say it many times in the future. But Parkinson's Law says that expenses will always rise to match income. So if you don't manage your money, when you make $50,000, your expenses are $50,000. When you make $100,000, your expenses are $100,000. And it goes on that way forever. So the only way to not fall into the trap of Parkinson's Law is managing your money, also known as managing your spending. But it's not even just managing your spending. It's actually managing your purchasing, which is a little bit different than managing spending. Like purchasing and spending are subtly different. They're kind of the same, but they're also different. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by managing your purchasing is let's say you own a car, and your car is paid for and it drives just fine, but all of your friends they have better cars with better emblems. You're like, I'm making more money. I want to buy a new car. So you go and purchase a new car. So you purchase a car, and then after you purchase a car, there's spending attached to it. And assuming you get a loan, which for most everyone that's going to be the case, you're going to spend money on the principal and you're going to spend money on the interest, which equals the payment. So you're going to spend money there. If you purchase a bigger home or you purchase a home, same thing, you're purchasing the home, but the purchase causes a spending. And there's going to be principal and interest on the home in a form of a payment. Let's say you want to go purchase a new watch or a new wardrobe to look really good at all the events that you're going to be going to, and you don't have the cash yet. Then guess what? You're purchasing that wardrobe and that watch. And if you're putting it on a credit card, you're paying principal and interest. It equals a payment. So let's say you want to purchase an education and you get it if you purchase an education, there's a student loan and there's principal and interest on the loan, which equals a payment. So what happens is that we're not managing our money as a skill, and without that management, that thoughtfulness, that pause, that looking at how much money, how much purchasing power do I have on a month-to-month basis? So to be able to have money left at the end of the month would be a good question to have. But just to know it's the purchases that cause the spending. And then when you purchase the house, there's the spending on the payment, but they're spending on the utilities and they're spending on the insurance, and there's the spending on everything that comes with it. When you purchase the car, there's the spending of the loan, and they're spending on the gas, they're spending on the insurance, they're spending on the maintenance. So all of that to just kind of change the way we're thinking is that when it comes to managing money, where it is a skill, where it sounds a little bit simple, there's many different layers to it, and it's managing the spending and it's managing the purchasing. You really have to manage the purchase and fight against that urge to keep up with the Joneses, to buy things, to show off how well that you're doing, which is kind of just a societal norm. And by consciously managing your money, it will help you avoid that trap that keeps you, again, in this just payment trap where all of your payments take up pretty much your entire paycheck. So that's skill number 2, is managing your money. And it's managing the money you make, which is managing your spending and managing your purchasing, and really managing both the purchasing and the spending to make sure that you have money left over for saving. So that's why we're managing it. We're managing our spending and purchasing and managing it so that they're saving, and saving is the money that's left over. It's the money that you don't spend. So that's all part of managing your money. And you can see how important this skill is going to be if you want to get out of that month to month, because the definition of being out of the month to month is to have savings. So that's number 2. All right. So what is the third skill that you need to develop over time if you want to create this financial peace of mind and get out of this trap, which is the month to month? The third one is called multiply. So here are the 3 skills, really easy to remember. Make, manage, multiply. Make, manage, multiply. But multiply is a skill. And all multiply means is that you want to put some of your money to work so that will gain compound interest. Multiply means compounding. But I like creating frameworks. So make, manage, multiply is much easier to remember than make, maybe manage and compound, but make, manage, multiply. But multiply is that it means you're putting your money, you're investing a piece of your money, you don't touch it, you're putting it away, and you're letting it grow over time. You're letting it multiply. And this just means your money, your money works for you. So over here, you work for others. And here, your money works for you. So that's what we're doing over this 40-year timeline. We're making money with the skill of trying to grow it, continue to grow it over those 40 years. We're managing it every single month over the 40 years and managing our spending or purchasing and managing it to make sure that we have money that's saved, that's not spent on all these other purchases and the expenses that go with those purchases and living life. And then we're putting money that we don't spend, that's why we're managed over here, that we don't spend, for it they can multiply. And we want it to multiply over these 40 years from the first paycheck, which would be the goal. Obviously, we don't learn these things early on, so for whatever reason, we're not starting here, even if we know we should. We're young, we don't know how all these numbers work. But I'm going to show you here in a second. But it's just knowing that this is a skill, and all of these are level of skills. So the more skilled you are over here, maybe the more money you can make. This more skilled you are at really managing your purchasing and managing your spending and managing like every dollar, where it goes and what it does, probably the more savings you're going to have. So the more skill you have, the more money you're going to have left over. And the more skill that you have here and multiply, meaning you can probably earn, you can earn higher rates of return based on your skill and how you can multiply. So if you don't want to acquire the skill of multiplying, and otherwise known as investing, then you can put your money in an index fund. If you want to gain more skill in an area of investing, like real estate investing, which is what I've done to multiply my money, then that would be a skill that you would develop in the multiply category, which would be real estate investing skill, or the skill of investing in the stock market. Whatever that case is, but the skill level is you can just have somebody else manage it for you, meaning giving it to an advisor and give up $500,000. You can manage it yourself by putting it in an index fund, and basically you're just letting the market manage it for you, but you're not paying fees. Or you gain a higher skill to be able to learn a specific skill in investing that can amplify some of those rates of return. But whatever you do, you have to gain the skill of multiplying, and don't abdicate it. You don't want to abdicate it to your employer, just like thinking your W-2 is going to work out through that one 401k. You don't want to abdicate it to a financial planner, because all those fees add up to more money than you could ever imagine. And you just don't want to just not gain a skill at all, because then you don't have any control of how much money you're going to have when you wind up when you're older. So one final thing here under the multiply category too, before we close, is to ask the question, what is the cost of delay? And this is something, since we're not taught in school, I didn't know this for the first, from this first decade. In fact, this first decade, I was young, I made a lot of money, I spent all my money, I got in tons of debt, and I was a shit show when it came financially. So I wasted this full decade, the first 10 years, even though I made multiple high six-figure incomes over this decade, I got here and was basically bankrupt because I didn't understand anything that I'm teaching now, which, oh, by the way, is what caused me to want to learn this, was going bankrupt at about this age and losing everything. So, but many of us, until we have a crisis or something happens, we don't actually start learning this. So congratulations for being here, for learning this, hopefully without a crisis. But the cost of delay. So rough numbers, if you invest $500 a month, let's say a 10% interest rate, and $500 a month, you don't miss a payment over these 40 years. Again, since this isn't taught in school, we don't know how costly it is to delay not investing or taking control over this multiplication of the money. So how does it break down? So assuming you want to be financially free at the latest at 65, if you invested $500 a month and got a 10% return, over this decade, you would have $90,000. So you're going to be putting $500 away, plus the money that compounds over the 10 years would equal $90,000. But if you started investing when you're 45, and then $500 a month, if you start investing $500 a month when you're 45, you would have $400,000 when you're age 65. But if you start investing a decade sooner when you're 35, that same $500 a month, you would have $1.1 million when you were 65. And then, ta-da, 25. If you start investing that same $500 a month when you're 25, you would have $3.1 million when you're 65. So look at how much money we're giving away, the same $500 by every decade that we wait. So you don't want to wait to start investing. And I see so many people wait, one, because They just don't have money here. They're not saving. And because they're not managing their money, and therefore they're delaying that, thinking I'll invest later when I have more money. The reason here that people don't invest, another reason why they don't invest, is they're just intimidated. It's so confusing out there. Like, where do I invest? That's the number one question I get asked is, Krisstina, where should I invest my money? And where you invest is really not that important. What's most important is this $500 a month, every single month without missing a payment for 40 years. If you do that, what you invest in doesn't matter. An index fund, which is kind of the lowest interest rate you're probably going to get as an investor, meaning you're actively putting your money in, you're actively saving your money to put it in every month, this is where you're going to end up. So to close this out today, on a scale from 1 to 5, rate yourself. Where are you making money on a scale to 1 to 5? How is your skill to making money? Are you making as much money as you want to make? And if not, what can you do to maybe make more money? And I'm going to be teaching a whole different episode on just ways to make more money that makes it that will cause you to realize, like, it's much easier than you may think. Number 2, how do you rate yourself on managing your money? Are you managing your money every single month? Do you have something like QuickBooks or a really good app where you're going in and you're categorizing and you're making sure that every dollar is accounted for? Are you managing your purchasing? Are you managing your spending? Are you having regular conversations with your spouse? Rate yourself 1 to 5. 1 meaning I'm doing a lousy job, 5 meaning nailing it. So 1 to 5, rate yourself, and then maybe write down some things that you can do to become a better manager of your money. And part of managing your money, you manage your money so that you have money left over in the savings so that you can be an active investor. What I mean by active investor means you actively put your money somewhere. Where it goes is far less important, other than you know that I'm actively putting my $500 a month into an index fund, into Bitcoin, into a savings account to buy real estate later, whatever it is, but it's an active choice to make sure that you're hitting this minimum amount per month every single month. So how are you doing on that? Rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, meaning I completely abdicate my finances, or 5 is I've got it down. That's what we have today. So put your scores down in the comment section. And as always, hit that like button if there's anything in this 20 minutes or so that I was talking that you found helpful and valuable. I'll see you next time.